Good morning, friends. We'll be starting in another couple of minutes. Today, my talk is on ergonomic of suturing. This talk will be there for 30 minutes, and after this, I'll be demonstrating on a pelvic trainer. What exercise should we perform and how should we go about it? So, good morning, everyone. फेसबुक में जाकर लिंक डाल दो ना एक दो ग्रुप में इसको क्लिक करके लिंक बना के डाल दो. Just people are asking how to join, so one of my colleagues will send link in other groups if somebody wants to join. So in a minute I'll be starting. So good morning, everyone. My talk today is on ergonomic of suturing. It will be of approx 30 minutes talk followed by a live session on pelvic trainer with more focus on ipsilateral suturing with few tips on contralateral suturing. So let's begin. I hope it's clear. The focus is clear. Okay. So term ergonomics is derived from the Greek words ergon meaning work and nomos meaning natural law of arrangement. Ergonomic is the scientific study of people at work in terms of equipment design, workplace layout, the working environment, safety, productivity, and training. Ergonomic is based on anatomy, physiology, psychology, and engineering combined in a system approach. In simple words, it is the science to make the setting and surrounding favorable for the laparoscopic surgeon. The term was formally defined in 1949 and has brought benefit and safety to the many areas of human endeavor. The most importance of ergonomics in the setting of laparoscopy have shown that correct ergonomics can reduce suturing time. The pressure-related chronic pain among the surgeon has been shown to be relieved by the use of ergonomically designed product. Sensorial ergonomics, which is nothing but manipulation and visualization, improves precision, dexterity and confidence, while physical ergonomics provide comfort to the surgeon. Together, these two elements of ergonomic increase safety and have a better outcome and reduces stress. Now in ergonomics there is something called as an orthron effect, which is nothing but an observer effect. It has been a well observed phenomena that any individual performs a skill better and with a more caution whenever he has the knowledge that he is under observation and assessment. This allows the result to be more positive. It is both humiliating and frustrating to be observed by everyone in OT when you take more than 15 minutes to do a square knot. So what are the learning objectives in ergonomic of suturing? The working knowledge of suturing equipment, ergonomic of suturing, tissue approximation which can be intracorporeal, extracorporeal, and there are many advanced technique now, staplers, and which are available in laparoscopy. So practice, that makes the man perfect, and you need to practice perfectly to be more precise. So laparoscopic suturing equipment require good needle holder, knot pusher for extracorporeal suturing, suture materials which we normally use Vicryl #1 and sometimes like 5-0-Prolene for laparoscopic tuboplasty. Good camera system is very important for the precision. 3D has changed the outcome in case of suturing, and of course good assistant is an asset in any laparoscopic surgery. So one has to invest in a good needle holder. Like you can choose the design, either it can be a straight handle, curved handle. The tip has to be tungsten carbide coated or diamond coated depending on what you like, and that provides a better grip for the needle and a thread. I prefer to use 2x1 tooth needle holder, which I'll be demonstrating in the pelvic trainer. That because it can be used as a tissue grasper also, especially in case of myomectomy and wall suturing where you need to hold the tissue. So with 2x1 tooth, it becomes easy. Now welcome additions are like self-writing needle holder. The first, this top corner, is a self-alignment, auto-alignment needle holder in which you just hold the needle and it will auto-align in a smiley position. However, the disadvantage of this kind of needle holder is it is not a tissue grasping needle holder. So it is used only to auto-align the needle while deriving the suture and the needle. There is something called as an endo stitch.
Please focus.
Is focus correct now? Okay, so this is endo stitch. In this, there is a needle attached to the thread, and when you go on firing, the needle passes from one arm to the opposite arm, and in this way, it takes continuous suture. This is an endo stitch. It is available with the Ethicon, and it is also useful in taking sutures if you are not well versed with suturing. And these are the knot pushers. So what suture materials you can select? There are various suture material which you can select depending on the absorbability, strain, tissue reaction, and what kind of tissue approximation you are looking at. Like for the tuboplasty, one use 5-0-Prolene or a 5-0-Vicryl, and for vault suturing, one use #1 Vicryl, and sometimes we now started using BAP suture also, which is PDS material for myomectomy. And length of suture material is very important when you are doing intracorporeal suturing. The ideal length is 10 to 12 centimeter if you are a beginner, and when you are going to do a basic suturing. I'll come to the difference between basic suturing and advanced suturing. And then for extracorporeal suturing, the length should be 70 centimeter. Now coming to the ergonomic of suturing, there are various angles which are defined in ergonomics, and there is a difference between the open suturing and a laparoscopic suturing. The open suturing is a fast and ergonomical optical, whereas laparoscopic suturing is slow, steady, there is a magnification effect, and it requires a choreographic movement. In ergonomics, there is a triangulation and manipulative angle. We'll come to angle one by one. But what are the ergonomic challenges? Open surgery has a high degree of freedom. The surgeon works in line with the visual axis. There is a 3D direct vision and there is a direct tactile feedback. So this all makes open surgery or a suturing very, very easy because you work in line. Your visual axis and motor axis are in line. You have a direct 3D vision and there is a tactile feedback, which is not there in case of laparoscopy. So what are the limitations during the laparoscopic surgery? The image, most of the time it's a 2D image. Now it has overcome by the use of 3D camera system, but it's costly. But nowadays we have seen increased number of 3D usages. So that limitation can be overcome by using 3D camera system. There is no depth perception in 2D, but there is a depth perception in case of 3D. There is no tactile feedback. But over the period of time, you start getting a tactile feedback with the needle holder or your tissue grasper. There is a decoupling. Is the focus clear now? In my screen, it's really clear. So just want to know, people are asking that it's not clear. Now it's clear. I hope it's clear. I'm just waiting for the feedback. Okay, so it's clear. I'll proceed now. So there is a decoupling of the visual and the motor axis. I'll come to this in a subsequent slide. There is a fulcrum effect with the tremor enhancement. We'll come to this also. And there are only 4 degrees of movement in case of laparoscopy, and the static posture during the major part of the procedure, which contributes to the inefficiency. The quality and resolution details of the image are not comparable with direct visualization. The newer generation 3D visual camera significantly improves the laparoscopic precision of beginners and experienced surgeons. What are the important considerations in cases of ergonomic? The port placement, the triangulation of the camera and ports, coaxial alignment of visual field, and ideal theater setup. So these are the points in which the ergonomics is covered. It's like straight line principle, triangulation, manipulation angle, elevation angle, low lying table, and gaze down view. We'll come to this. So this is a straight line principle where the surgeon is standing on one side, monitor is on the opposite side, and the target organ is in the center. This is the straight line principle. Now, what is the port placement? How do we consider the port placement? So it follows a specific arc. The target organ being near the pelvis, and the camera port is at the umbilicus or a supraumbilical, and then it follows a particular arc in which the trocars are placed. So on the ipsilateral suturing, generally the two trocars are at the distance of 10 to 12 centimeter apart, and it forms the triangle. And the base of the triangle is formed by the two trocars either ipsilateral. So this and this will form the base of the triangle, and this being the apex. The target organ being formed will be the apex. So if you are doing contralateral suturing, so one port will be on the left side, which is 2 finger breadth above and medial to ASIS, and the contralateral port will be 2 finger breadth above and medial to ASIS. So these two port will form for the contralateral suturing, whereas in ipsilateral suturing, the second port will be 10 to 12 centimeter apart in the mid-clavicular line. So these form the base of the triangle, whereas this form the apex of the triangle. So this arc generally we follow, and this is called as a baseball diamond concept or triangulation concept. Okay, so in this, as we know the like baseball triangular concept, see the same concept. This is the target organ, this is the camera port, and these two are the working port. Okay. So now coming to the various angles, what is the ideal angle? So there is a manipulative angle which should be 60 degree. There is azimuth angle which is also 30 plus 30 equal to 60 degree, and elevation angle which is 60 degree. Now we'll come one by one to this angle. So what is manipulation angle? It's an angle between the two operating instrument, and ideally it has to be 60 degree. So this is how when we are using fork and knife while eating, the angle which form is approximately 60 degree. So maintaining this angle is very important. If okay, the ideal force and the better work we get out of this optical angle, and the narrow angle there will be a less force generated, and wider angle the executing time will be more. So if you try to eating with this, follow this exercise, and you will come to know what is the importance of this angle 60 degree, which is nothing but the manipulation angle, and it's an angle between the two instrument, which is very very important, especially in the ipsilateral suturing. Now coming to the azimuth angle, this is the axis of the instrument to the optical axis of the scope. Okay, so this is the optics and these are the two instruments. So when we are doing contralateral suturing, this has to be again 60 degree, 30 plus 30. So equal azimuth angle is very important. Wider angle, more execution time, and no difference in force or work done when the angle is less. Hope I am getting it. Okay, so these are the angles. So basically this manipulation angle is very important in ipsilateral suturing, and azimuth angle is very important in contralateral suturing. And now coming to the elevation angle. The elevation angle is nothing but the angle instrument making angle with the horizontal plane. So this how when you are eating you will elevate your hand. So this base with this angle is called the elevation angle, and this is also approximately 45 to 60 degree. The angle between the horizontal plane of entry to the instrument axis is nothing but the elevation angle. So it is ideally 60 degree, more elevation, less force, and more pain on the shoulder, and narrow angle, more execution time. So these are basically the angles which one has to understand in the ergonomics. Now coaxial alignment. What is coaxial alignment and lateral alignment? Generally when we are operating, we are doing hysterectomy with the ipsilateral thing. The monitor is between the two legs of the patient. So this is the lateral alignment, and this is the coaxial alignment. This generally occurs in case of when you are doing appendix or when you are doing gallbladder. Ergonomic concept in OT or an ideal theater setup. So this is what we ideal relaxed surgeon position is. Okay, you can see the visual angle is 5 to 40 degree, so that it has to, the monitor should not be above the eye level of the surgeon, because it will cause cervical spondylosis, extension of the neck, and cervical spondylosis. The patient height or table height should be below the waistline of the surgeon. This is really good if you want to do contralateral suturing. Okay, and you can see the elbow is in the relaxed position, and this is how the foot pedals are arranged. Okay, now coming to the visual and motor axis. Now this is the visual axis, you are looking towards the monitor, and this is the motor axis, you are working down. In open surgery, both you look down and you operate. So visual axis and motor axis are in same line. Whereas in case of laparoscopy, there is a dissociation between the visual axis and the motor axis. So we need to learn hand-eye coordination. What we repeatedly say, you always develop your hand-eye coordination in case of laparoscopy, so as to overcome this dissociation of the visual and the motor axis. Now this is the surgeon stand, how generally the surgeon has to be. See, if the monitor is above the eye level, there is a cervical extension and there will be a chronic fatigue. Okay, so one has to keep the monitor in the eye level or little bit below, and the table height should be low so that your elbow is in relaxed position, not like this. Okay, so this is basically how you should develop your skill so that you get minimum fatigue and shoulder pain at the end of the day, and you will be able to do more and more surgery. So this is the ideal relaxed position, where the straight head in the axis of the trunk without rotation or extension of cervical spine, shoulder in relaxed and neutral position, arm along the side of the body, elbow bend at 70 to 90 degree, forearm in an horizontal or slightly descending axis, hand pronated, hands and fingers slightly grip the handle, hand and piece. So this is how generally you arrange your OT table. This all comes automatically and goes at subconscious level once you start doing clear and clear. Is the focus clear now? I think in between the focus is not clear. Now it is clear. Okay. Now coming to the patient position. So we always give Trendelenburg position, in which produces a gravitational displacement of viscera away from the surgical site. That is very important. However, there is a risk of aspiration in this position, and head high is given in case of gallbladder surgery, but there is a more chances of stagnation of the blood and DVT. Suturing. Now coming to the difference between contralateral suturing and ipsilateral suturing. Okay, so now coming to the contralateral suturing, you can see in this figure, the contralateral suturing, the surgeon the right hand has to come over the patient to the opposite side, and this causes the fatigue of the shoulder. So this is contralateral suturing, okay, in which, but you have, so the surgeon's shoulder get hurt because you have to go on the opposite side and have to suture. So there is a more fatigue. And this also obstruct the assistant and the camera movement, because the camera is in between. So person has to assist from behind and below. So it's always going to be a difficult contralateral suturing. To begin with, we were also contralateral surgeon, and now we have shifted over to the ipsilateral suturing. And also there is a waste of one port and the assistant hand, because assistant cannot do anything with this port. Okay, so that is a waste of one port in contralateral suturing. It's a poor ergonomic for the contralateral suturing. Whereas ipsilateral suturing is less fatigue, it's more useful for surgeries like myomectomy, where more number of sutures are taken. So you can see from the same side, it's an ipsilateral suturing. Now coming to the concept of suturing in vertical zone. I don't know, in my screen it's very clear. You all can increase the brightness of your screen. If possible, you all increase the brightness of your screen. Okay, now coming to the concept of suturing in vertical zone. Okay, so what is suturing in vertical zone? The vertical zone refers to the sagittal plane that the curved needle moves during the suturing. That is, in case of wall suturing, if you are doing contralateral suturing, the needle will travel from anterior to posterior. Okay, so this is suturing in vertical zone. And if you are doing ipsilateral suturing, the needle will travel from below up. Okay, so this is suturing in vertical zone. Okay, so here is the description. Needle appears to be traversing from top to bottom or bottom to top vertically, and hence the name suturing in vertical zone. This term was derived by Professor Charles Coe, and he has worked tremendously for the tuboplasty, and he has developed many instruments for the tuboplasty along with Karl Storz. So these are the typical hand movements in the ipsilateral suturing. Okay, so you can see the distance between two ports is almost 10 to 12 centimeter, which forms the base of the triangle. Okay, the surgeon throws knot from a two-handed ipsilateral position, always using the same motion. The arms and the elbows are totally relaxed in this style of suturing, which closely resembles the open laparotomy. Now, few people are asking whether we stand on the left side or the right side of the patient. This all depends on how you are developing your skill. Whether you want to stand on the left side, I operate from the left side of the patient, but Dr. Rajendra Sangpal stand on the right side. Many surgeons stand on the right side and operate, and majority of them stand on the left side and operate. So it's all depends on how you are trained and how you take it. So the port position, suturing style, and closely choreographed technique all comprises what is called as laparoscopic suturing in vertical zone. I hope the concept of suturing in vertical zone is clear. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but an habit. Adept and successful laparoscopic suturers are made and not born. Ergonomic of hand and instrument. Now coming to the tip, so range of movement and conventional. So what is the range of movement for the instrument? In conventional it is 4, whereas in robotic the instrument movement are in the range of 7. So this is the main difference between the conventional laparoscopy and robotic surgery, where the range or degree of movement is more in robotic surgery and less in case of conventional or conventional laparoscopy. So these are the range of movement which are rotation, up down angulation, left right angulation and in out movement. Only these movements are permitted in case of laparoscopy. Now length of the shaft, the fulcrum effect of hand instrument. This I'll come little bit later in the slide. What is fulcrum effect, which is very important to understand the ergonomic of suturing. So this is the length of the instrument length ratio. This is the port. So the amount of instrument outside and the amount of instrument inside, and this develop the fulcrum. Why it is important? Because the extra corporal length instrument length ratio, which is equal or more than 1. If it is less than 1, that it degrades the task performance, and if it's more, then it will increase the error. Okay, now you imagine this is the effort and this is the fulcrum and this is the load. Okay, so maximum length of the instrument inside, the maximum length of the instrument is inside abdomen port, very far from the target of the dissection. Little movement outside lead to the magnified distance movement inside, again leading to collateral damage. Okay, the force will be rectified inside. So this is importance of fulcrum. The fulcrum has to be equal. The length of the instrument outside and inside the abdomen has to be equal. That is to be the take home. Okay, the handle design, you can choose whatever handle design you feel it is grip. This is the handle, this is a grip handle, and this is a straight handle. So you all decide what you suits best and you can go for it. Coming to the intracorporeal suturing, I can recognize a good surgeon not from how he cuts but from how he sews. The critical step of suturing is introduction of the needle inside the abdomen, grasping the needle, tissue penetration and knotting. So this is how the needle is introduced. You remove the port, you pass the needle holder through the trocar, open the needle holder jaw, place the thread. Now you push the thread and needle inside and then slide the trocar over it. So this is how the needle is introduced inside the abdomen. Any size of the needle will be dragged inside the abdomen with this technique. If you are doing a tuboplasty and you have a 5-0 needle, you can pass it through the 10 mm port, which is the central port. Now, how do we grasp the needle or how do we pick up the needle? Okay, so there are 3-point technique where you have to do it. This is ABC. So whenever the needle is passed inside the abdomen, you pick up the thread which is 2 to 3 centimeter away from the sweet point or a swedge. Okay, so you hold the thread with the right hand. If you are standing on the left side of the patient and you are doing ipsilateral suturing, with the right hand you pick up the thread which is 2 to 3 centimeter away from the point. Once you lift up, then you go to the point B with the left hand. Okay, this I'll be demonstrating in the pelvic trainer also. So with the left hand you hold the needle at the junction of anterior 1/3 and posterior 2/3. Okay, and then you pass the needle, then you release this. And with the help of right hand, you hold the needle in the driving position. Okay, so this is a 3-point technique how you pick up the needle and take it in the writing position. Okay, so you first pick up the needle with the help of the thread, then with the left hand you hold the needle and you can do the writing movement. There is a subsequent video which I'll demonstrate this, and finally you transfer the needle from the left hand to the right hand for the driving position. Now coming to the active needle and passive needle. What is active needle? Held needle should always be in view, which is active needle. So if your needle is loaded on the needle holder, it becomes the active needle. The active needle always has to be under vision because it can cause trauma. The active needle which is loaded on needle holder can puncture or injure the vessel or puncture the bowel or injure the intra-abdominal organs. So it has to be always under vision. Whereas passive needle, a trailing needle is a safe needle. So if you hold the suture with the thread and the needle is free, it is called as a passive needle and which is not dangerous. Various type of knots. Most common what we follow is a square knots. Okay, so this is how the square knot is taken. You pull out and then you throw a knot. Okay, this will be demonstrating in the pelvic trainer. So this is how you can pass the needle. Okay, you can see you can use both the hands to pass the needle also. Okay, so this is a case of a hysterectomy where you can just release the uterine artery, open the vault, and we'll be seeing a vault suturing also, which is suturing in a vertical zone. Okay, so now this, you can see salpingectomy is done, and now this is suturing in vertical. You can see this is my right hand, this is the left hand. So I use tooth forceps 2x1, which helps in tissue grasping also. Now this is the suturing in vertical zone where the needle is traversed from posterior to anterior part. So we do continuous locking suturing. You can see that assistant is helping with the opposite port. This is not possible with the contralateral suturing. So in ipsilateral suturing, the opposite port is free and the assistant can help by following the thread. So it becomes very, very easy. Okay, now this is a case of tuboplasty. So all the skills are executed in case of tuboplasty. You know, we have a very fine suturing. The thread is 50 proline and it has a memory. So it is difficult to handle this thread. People are using Vicryl also for the tuboplasty. But I prefer proline because it does not induce any tissue reaction and the pregnancy rate are really good. So now this is the video where you can see the needle is brought in the smiley position in the left hand and then it will be transferred to the right hand. Okay. This I'll demonstrate live in the pelvic trainer. Okay. So now this is suturing in vertical zone. Okay, now this suture is in smiley position. The shaft and the needle makes 90-degree angle. This is basic suturing. When you hold the needle with the needle holder, this becomes the basic suturing. So the length of the suture material should be 10 to 12 centimeter. Now this is the advanced suturing where you are using thread as a fulcrum. You know, you are not holding the needle. So this is the advanced suturing. Okay, so you see to it that the needle holder and the thread makes 90 degree. Somebody has asked the question that can you introduce needle through vagina? Yes, it's all technique what you can develop. Okay, now this is only left hand movement over the C loop, and now you can see it's only right hand movement. Okay, and left hand is steady. So these all are maneuvers what you can learn and practice. Now this is movement of both the hands. Piston effect. Okay, and now this is thumbs up technique. When you open up the needle holder tooth jaw, it becomes a thumbs up technique for hooking. This all will be demonstrating in the live session. Okay, now always work close to the target. See this, I am making loop away and going there. This is not good technique. You always stay near to the site of the suture and make a loop. So make a short loop, okay, and stay close to the target organ. Now always hold tip of the tail end, not on the center, because it will create a shoelace technique. So that is the wrong technique. Okay, you go to the tip and hold the tip of the tail end. Okay, this is how the suturing is good. Okay, now coming to the barb suture, it has an helical barbs and that self-anchors the tissue. There is no knotting required, more consistent wound apposition, and there is a watertight seal. So the barb suture everybody knows and they have been using in myomectomy and vault suturing. It's very easy and convenient. So this is a video which demonstrates the use of barb. It's not working, that's okay. Okay, so advantage of the bath is reduces the time and it reduces intraoperative blood loss. It's a watertight seal. Now coming to the extracorporeal knot, this is appendicectomy where you can see we can put a Rhodes loop. So this is the appendicectomy, mesoappendix is separated, and this is how with the help of knot pusher you can put Rhodes knot. Okay, this is basically done by the surgeon. We are not using that much of extracorporeal suturing in our practice. Now staplers. This is a case of a lap incisional hernia repair. You can see we are using a port closure. This is the Prolene. So this is a divarication of the recti which is corrected using the Prolene. You can see the defect, incisional hernia post tubal ligation, open TL. So this is a U-handle port closure. You bring both the end in the center and then tie. And once you tie, the defect is closed. So this will close the defect as well as correct some sort of divarication. And now you place dual mesh inside. And the dual mesh is fixed with the help of the tackers. These are the absorbable tackers. This is a specialized dual mesh. So on this visceral side there is a coating which will prevent any adhesion of the bowel. So these all gadgets has made life little bit simple. Okay, so now I will take reversal knot. Okay, somebody asked how do you take reverse knot? I'll just demonstrate that on live pelvic trainer session. After this, we'll quickly finish the PPT. So the physical constraint to the surgeon due to inefficient application of ergonomics is because of the extension of the cervical spine, which causes cervical spondylitis. There is a shoulder pain due to the abduction of the shoulder, and this is called as a chicken wing scapula, or during the laparoscopy, and termed as a laparoscopic shoulder. There is a constant backache for the surgeon, hand-finger joint pain, tenosynovitis, burning eyes, stress exhaustion, and hand muscle injury. So these are the side effects for the surgeon if you don't follow proper ergonomics of suturing. The most common reason for the inability of the ergonomics to be applied optimally in the field of laparoscopy could be enumerated as follows. Communication gap between the practitioner of the laparoscopy and the designer of the instrument. So one has to be constantly in touch with the designer of the manufacturer and give your inputs to improve the ergonomics. The lack of complete awareness among the surgeon, inadequate knowledge of the potential problem for the user in the instrument created by the designer, and the contradictory expert advice which reduces the credibility of the ergonomic as a science. Laparoscopic surgery provides patient with a less painful surgery, but it's more demanding for the surgeon. The increased technical complexity and sometimes poorly adapted equipment have lead to increased complaints of the surgeon fatigue and discomfort during laparoscopic surgery. Better ergonomic integration and understanding ergonomic can only make the life of the surgeon comfortable in the operating room, but also reduce physical strain on the surgeon. It is not the practice that makes perfect, but is a perfect practice that makes the perfect. I'll conclude my talk with this small video, and then we'll have live pelvic trainer session. Okay, so this is, if you go without practice, this is what will happen. You will create a mishap in the OT. Okay, so now we are removing myoma, but you can see myoma screw got broken because of the wrong traction. Practice makes man perfect. So with practice, one can improve. So we need to practice on pelvic trainer again and again. Somebody has asked, what about suturing posterior vertical incision? I always prefer horizontal or a transverse incision for myomectomy because vertical incision will be difficult for suturing with ipsilateral suturing. Either you have to go contralateral or you have to use the suprapubic port. So you have to plan the incision during myomectomy, that what is best for you for suturing. If you are ipsilateral suturing, always take transverse or a vertical or an oblique incision, and don't take vertical incision. Avoid vertical incision. During ipsilateral suturing, what should be the position of the telescope? I'll just demonstrate that in the pelvic trainer. It will be in the center only. 3 months practice is very much important. We'll go to the pelvic trainer session now. Okay, so this is how this is home surgical pelvic trainer. As you can see, it's very easy and simple. You just connect the audio visual wire to the TV. This is a simple TV at home. So you can see the magnification, and this is how it's stimulate the natural also surgical. Like if this is the patient, now I'll demonstrate. This is the patient and this is the monitor. Okay, I have seen people practicing like this, suturing. This is a wrong practice because you are never going to go on the patient and operate. So this is not, you should not practice like this. This is the wrong practice. Okay, so you always stand like this as if this is a patient and it's going, the head end is here. So you will not cross the midline while practicing also. So now coming to the contralateral suturing. So you have to go on the opposite side and you suture like this. Okay, so there is a strain on the shoulder. You have to extend, and the table height should be below the waistline. Imagine this is here, so you will not be able to, if the patient table height is high, you will not be able to go and operate on the opposite side. So the contralateral suturing is difficult. Because during practice, what people practice like this. Oh, it's so easy. It's not easy. You cannot stand like this in the patient. Okay, so you cannot stand like this. So you have to practice like this, which becomes difficult. Okay, so this is the contralateral. Now, this is the target organ in the center. Here is the uterus. So this forms the triangle, ipsilateral. I usually operate from the left side of the patient. So if this is my patient, this is the monitor, this is the motor axis, this is the visual axis. So there is a dissociation. I have to look there and operate here. Okay. So now this is 10 to 12 centimeter distance. This is the apex of the triangle. Okay. And this is the base of the triangle. Okay. So I always tell my fellow to practice practice these 3 techniques. Okay. Now both the needle holder tips should come together. Okay. We have seen when you start doing first day, your left hand will go somewhere and right hand will go somewhere else. So you have to practice both the tip of the needle holder should go together in the 4 corner of the screen. Okay. So you practice 15 minutes daily this exercise. Okay. That 4 corners both the hands should go together. Okay. This will develop your coordination. Okay, so this is the first exercise where both the tips goes together in the 4 corner of the screen. Okay, because otherwise you will go haywire. Okay, so this is the first thing. Okay, you practice like this. Second thing is you practice in-out movement. This movement is very important. Both the tip coming closer. This is very important. This is belly of needle holder. Okay, you have to go in-out with coming to the same point. Okay, and the third is rotatory movement. Okay. So this 3 movement is very important. I repeat, the first step, go to the 4 corners together. Okay, this will develop your skills of staying together. Both the needle holder will start staying together. Second will be in and out movement, and third will be rotatory movement. Okay, now I'll show you how this is important in suturing. Okay, so now I will just put the thread inside. Okay, now I will demonstrate how to lift the needle. Okay, 3-point position of lifting the needle. Okay. So now this is your needle. Okay, so you always This is the swift point, okay, where the thread is connected to the needle. Okay, now you go 3 to 4 centimeter away. Now this is my right hand, this is my left hand, this is my right hand. So I'll hold 3-4 centimeter away, lift it. Okay, this is point A. Now with the left hand I'll come to the point C, point B. This is point B. Okay, and now I'm not locking the needle holder. Okay, I'm just doing a single lock so that I can write the needle. Okay, this is the writing of the needle holder, where you can move the thread and you can bring the needle in any position. We wanted it in its smiley position. This is smiley position. Okay, and now I'll hold the point C. Okay, and I'll release the left hand. So this is my needle ready for attack. This is in the smiley position. It will make the shaft of the needle holder, and needle is making 90 degree. Okay, is that very clear? I'll repeat. With the left hand I'll lift up the thread. With the right hand, with the right hand I'll lift up the thread. With the left hand, I'll hold the needle at the point B. Okay, with the junction of the anterior 1/3 and posterior 2/3, and now I'll write the needle in the smiley position, and then I'll transfer to the point C. Okay, so this is ready for attack. Now we'll be demonstrating suturing in vertical zone. Okay, so where the needle travels from posterior to anterior, you stabilize the silicone pad with the left hand as you stabilize the tissue in the operation. Then you do the movement. All the movements are at the wrist joint, nothing at a shoulder and a elbow. Okay, nothing at the shoulder and elbow. Light करके hand movement को दिखा दो. Okay, so now you can see here all the movements are at the wrist joint. Okay, and this is how I am holding my needle holder. Can you see that? Okay, so this is the design of the needle holder. My 3 fingers will go at the handle and the one at the lock. Okay, so when I want to open the needle holder, I'll press this. When I want to close, I'll press like this. Okay, so this you should practice. This is opening, this is closing, this is opening, this is closing, this is opening, this is closing. Okay, this is very important. Okay, now all the movements are at the wrist joint. You can see I am doing pronation and then I am just doing supination. Okay, I'll release, I'll advance. Okay, so this all the movements are at the wrist joint. Is all doing just pronation and supination. Okay, so now this is a big thread. So what we will do is we will do advanced suturing. Sorry, there's another thread inside. Okay, you leave the needle now because this is an active needle. When I am holding the needle with needle holder, this is active needle. Okay, and it should not go out of vision because laterally there are major vessels, so it will puncture. Should not go out of vision in the upper abdomen because there is aorta, IVC, and vessel and mesenteric vessel. So whenever you want to extend, just drop the needle and then you can pull the thread. Okay, so that becomes passive needle. The passive needle is not dangerous because it will not puncture anything. You can see I am dragging my needle, but it will not puncture anything. So this is a passive needle. But if I roam around with the active needle, definitely it is going to puncture or it will going to. This is active needle. If I roam, it will puncture something or the other. Okay, so this is active needle. The active needle always should be under vision, and you drop needle when your piercing job is done. Okay, now the important step in this is keep the tail end short. If you keep it long, then it will become a shoelace method. So you keep it short. Okay, and now this is the basic suturing. Basic suturing, you use needle as a fulcrum. Okay, now this needle is in the writing position. It's a smiley position. Okay, now this is the C where your left hand comes out, right hand goes in. So this become a C. Okay, and now again this movement, in out movement, and now rotatory movement. Okay, so importance of this step, did you understand? And now you just pull it out. Okay, I'm not putting a knot, but then again the movement, in out movement, and then rotatory movement. Okay, now in this you can fix one hand, like right hand I am keeping it fixed and I am moving only left hand. Okay, to make the loop. Second technique is you keep your left hand constant and move only right hand. Okay, and with the advance, once your skills improve, you can use both the hands. You can move both the hands, okay, simultaneously. This is how you make a loop. This is the basic suturing. Once you practice this for 15-20 days, only basic suturing, okay, and then once you masterize this, then you go for the advanced suturing where you use thread as a fulcrum. Okay, so you use thread as a fulcrum. So your right hand goes down, left hand comes up, so that becomes C. Okay, now this is the C. Okay, this loop, and now this shaft of the needle holder and the shaft of the thread is making 90 degree. Okay, now again my movement in and out, and then rotatory movement. Okay, now sometimes it becomes difficult, see. Okay, so what I do, I open my thumb. Okay, this is thumbs up technique. When you open the needle holder jaw, it's thumbs up technique, and it will help you in hooking the loop, see. So this is thumbs up technique, and then you catch. Now here, if you hold the thread in the center, it is not good because it is going to create a loop. So you always hold the tip and pull it out. Okay, and this will give you a square knot. So this is the ipsilateral suturing when I am standing on the left hand side of the patient. If you are standing on the right side, you can do it from the right side. And now I'll demonstrate contralateral suturing. So in ipsilateral suturing, the movement is always from below up because your right hand become dominant and you do it from the below top. Now if you are doing myomectomy and if you are taking a box stitch, you can also use left hand first and your stitch will come from top to bottom. Okay, so now I'll demonstrate the reverse. So you hold it like this. Now again the left hand is active. I'll stabilize the pad. Now I am doing pronation, now supination. Okay, so from top to bottom, my needle is traversing from top to bottom. And now I am just lifting them out. I'll drop my needle. Okay, so that it becomes passive. Now it will come out. I'll pull, keep the tail end short. Now I'll make the C. Okay, so left hand pull it out. Right hand goes down. Okay, again that belly of needle holder, and then 1, 2, and this is how. Okay, sometimes you need to cross the hand in this case to get the square knot. So you need either you cross the needle holder inside the abdomen or you cross the hand outside. Okay, now this is like this. So you are crossing the needle holder inside. Now you leave both the hands, and then again you tight it. Okay, so this is how you are supposed to take the stitch. Okay, now I'll demonstrate contralateral. Okay, so what happens in contralateral? My one hand goes on the opposite side of the patient. It's really sometimes difficult. I am not doing contralateral in a long time, but I'll just demonstrate. So I'll pass the needle on the right hand. Okay, now the suture is, needle is 90 degree. You just go in. It's also difficult for me to do it. Okay, but my shoulder is hurting because I have to extend my right hand on the opposite side. Okay, now again you just make a loop. Okay, so this is a contralateral suturing. Okay, but it's difficult now because we have stopped doing it since last 10 years and we are doing only ipsilateral suturing. Okay, I hope this session was useful. Okay, thank you very much. Now any question answer, we'll take it on this platform. Thank you very much.